Hello everyone and welcome back to another stream from Aman Talks NRL SuperCoach, and today we're going to be talking about SuperCoach painfully. That was a painful round for me this weekend. Couple of dumb reserve choices, captain went okay, trades meh. Again, a bit of a meh week I'd say overall for myself. I've asked for you guys to put in the chat your scores and your trades for the week. So I'm seeing around 1,000 to 1,100 kind of the average, which is kind of the par. So I scored below par, just FYI. So guys, don't take advice from me. I'm clearly not very good at this game. For the first 3 weeks have been pretty average, that's for sure. But lots of stuff to talk about, for the next hour or so as we dissect round 3. So I can see a few people, lots of trade outs for Crichton. So he was a very popular sell this week, and I think that turned out to probably be the right call given that he was benched. Lots of trade outs for Nicho Hynes. So we'll definitely talk about Hynes. Looks like the best move possible to go for Hynes this week. A few people bringing in the likes of Kikau and Olakwatu didn't do ideal. Kind of showed some level of inconsistency that they can have. Not necessarily Olakwatu as much, but Kikau definitely is a bit of a roller coaster. But yeah, so I think around 1,100 is par. Anyone who's a Stags or owner like Cobbo, or just painful, so painful. Definitely feeling like I wish it was a bit like FPL where we could start tinkering around with our teams like straight away, because I'd probably be bombing them out of my team like instantly. But I have to wait till around midday tomorrow before I can do that. So let's quickly show you guys my team, and I've got a couple of shout outs I will do as well. But I'll quickly talk about my team and the pain of it. So let me just quickly zoom in for you guys a little bit more. So Reid Marnie has not been the best for the first 3 weeks, only 39 points, which is just not great. I mean, I didn't reserve Randall. So half the reason I'm very frustrated this week was coming into lockout, I had 4 reserves set for this week. I had Josh King, Max King, Brad Schneider, and I knew my trade was going to involve putting in either Hiku or Fermor. And so Isaiah Yeo Targa would have been a reserve. So that's why Isaiah Yeo got the reserve there. So I would have, if I had just stuck with my guns for my initially thought, it would have been Tedesco, Schneider, Josh King, and Max King. Otherwise, instead of Max King, it probably would have been someone like a Targo. So switching last minute to Cobbo was just, dumb idea. I switched from Schneider to Cobbo just because I thought it was a good matchup against the Cowboys. Raiders were a bit disappointing last week, but silly me, should have thought a halfback who's goal kicking, especially against the Titans who concede a lot of points. That was just a dumb move, so I really regret that. That's a big point swing there of about 50. And then Josh King, oh my goodness, he goes out and gets a try assist with a line break assist, some tackle breaks, some offloads. Yeah, so not playing him for 85 points. So there's a couple of big swings there. If I had just stuck with those reserves, I scored 972. I would have been sitting on, at least an extra kind of 70, 80 points. And we'd be looking at more like 1,050, 1,060, and the score looking a bit more par. So really disappointing that, those couple of selections just didn't work out. Fanil Blake, really disappointing as well, only 41. Payne Haas was a bit average as well. He only played 57 minutes, so that's his lowest minutes so far in the season. And so only the 62 points, which was helped along by a line break as well. Second and 4 did okay, so I switched up Targo based on my moves, I ended up doing Crichton and Lukey out for Hiku and for Isaiah Yeo. Now Isaiah Yeo, I keep pronouncing his surname. Isaiah Yeo got 53, basically all in base, so I'm happy with that. It's kind of his floor, so I'll take that at his price. Targo was amazing with 94, scored the brace. Ewan Aiken scored a try, so I'm happy enough with that, 61 points. And Fafita didn't look like he did much, but a couple of line breaks, a few tackle breaks as always, and 72 points. So I think I'm happy enough with Fafita, especially with the matchup coming up as well. The halves, look, one of them did really good. Dylan Brown, I'm extremely happy with Dylan Brown, starting with him. That's why I've got him as the thumbnail for this week. Really happy with that 100-point effort. Looked really good this game. Sam Walker is a bit disappointing, and obviously I didn't do the Walker to Hynes move that I know was very popular. I saw a few people in the chat did the move, so I can see Luke there. He did Walker to Hynes, Crichton to Yeo, and Marnie to Coruscant. So 3 pretty good moves there for a good score of 1266. And then Wolfie on the opposite end of the spectrum saying he wishes he got Hynes. Yeah, look, obviously it's always easy in hindsight to say should have done the move, but the way, even though that game was played in the wet, still racked up a big score, 124. So yeah, Hynes probably was the right play. So I'm thinking about it now, which is a bit frustrating in that, I'm going to lose a bit of money on that because Hynes is going to go up in price and Walker's going to go down. But that's definitely something I'm going to have to think about for the next week. And then moving down into the centers, disappointing. Hiku was very, very underwhelming. Again, a frustrating 50-50 where it was either going to go for Fermor or Hiku. Hiku had the lower break even, so I thought at least maybe you can turn and make some decent cash, but just very disappointing this week. Nanai just inside of him got all the points, so the ball just never really had to get to Hiku, so only 20 points again, which is really disappointing when he had such high floor in the past couple of weeks. So that really did not pay off. I played Penasini just because of his good base, but only 21 points. Played Cobo for that 22 points, which included a line break pretty early in the game. Stags, gets the ball, looks good, just doesn't get the ball enough, and just constantly has, there's a lot of errors between Cobo and Stags. It seems like they try a bit too hard. So yeah, that wasn't great. Smith was fine. I was happy enough with the 46 points from Billy Smith. I decided to play him just because I thought backing against a good team in terms of the Roosters, so it was a safer play. Pappenhausen and Tedesco, both fine. So I couldn't actually loop Pappenhausen's 107, hence why I just stuck with the captaincy on Payne Haas, because I thought he was a safe bet. But so all around a bit disappointing with some of the kind of reserve selections. Some of the some of the moves also, it's just a bit of a frustrating week, I think, with some of the moves that I did. Some of those 50-50s didn't work out. Some of the calls that I avoided doing, like say that Walker to Hynes, really stung. And even again, some of the players, like say Fanul Blake, has been really disappointing. I'm remembering my preseason teams where I had Jai Arrow in there. I had Zach Lomax in my centre wing, who did really well this week, or did okay this week. He's done better than Stags, that's for sure. And I had like Josh Curran in some of my preseason teams. So just a little bit annoyed that so far I've gone against my initial kind of gut feelings and they haven't worked out. And then when I made a gut call to go for Cobo, he's not really worked out either. So yeah, that's my little rant about my team. But I really am glad to see that people did well this week. So I'm seeing CGN getting 12.95. That's a massive score. Juku with 1219. He wishes he went Fermo over Hiku, so he did the same move as me, but still 12.19 is a great score. Targo is going to make heaps of money. Yep, Targo looks a set and forget for the rest of the foreseeable future, honestly. A few other people saying like 10.75. So yeah, around 1100 seems par. I can see Benny got 10.74. Benny, did you captain Katoni Stags, or was that last week? Please remind me. I know you captained Stags 1 week. It might have been last week. But overall, bit of a meh week. We'll get into the game by games, but just before I do that, I need to give a couple of shout outs because I forgot to do it in the past couple of videos. So I wanted to shout out the leaders of the actual group league. So if you guys aren't in the group league yet, the code's just right down below me. There's no kind of head-to-head. It's just an overall league just to kind of track how people are going. So Tommy's Turbos, he was the leader on round 1. Scored 1,100, and that was in round 1, which was a really low scoring week. So that's a really, really big score. And he commented in one of the videos saying that, he took a lot of the advice and it helped him. So thank you. Good to know that at least if I can't do well for my own team, maybe it helps others as well. And then in round 2, we had, for the round, we had Anthony, who scored 10.49. It's so crazy though. I think it's quite nice to actually look at these top round scorers, because 10.49 is a top round score in this league, which has got like, I think 400 plus people now. It's something crazy. Just shows that scoring, right? And even this week there was a few bigger scores, but it's still like, we're saying 1,200 is a great score. Last season that was nothing, right? So I think it's really indicative that the scoring is down. I think we're definitely seeing that. Could pick up again. It's kind of picked up progressively over the past few weeks. So yeah, shout out to Anthony and Thomas there with those two top scores. And then looking overall, we've got Mariah. He's now on 2,039, and his overall rank coming into this week was 377. So Mariah, either comment or if you're in the live chat, let me know what you got this week, because being that pointy end of the season so early must be a nice feeling as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick few shout outs there, just because I forgot to do it in the past few videos, so I felt bad about that. So yeah, guys, if you're not in the league, jump in there. I'll try to organize prizes if I can. Any potential sponsors out there want to hit me up with some prizes for our excellent viewers, let me know. But let's get into game by games. How about that? So we'll start off with Dragons and Sharks. Graham got 1 135. Hell on Eels 1101. So yeah, it seems around like the 1100 is that par score. But yeah, okay, so starting off, so Sharks 36, Dragons 12. Sharks just looked fantastic overall. They're definitely a team that I think I underestimated. Like, obviously they'd made some good recruits, like Hynes. Fitzgibbon is a good defensive coach as well, but I was a bit surprised by how early or how quickly it seems like they're kind of kicking off the season. Looked really good in this match. Again, played in the wet, but it didn't really seem to stop Hynes. I made a little poem. If you guys don't mind, I do like to put together some rhymes every now and then. I am a poet sometimes, and I know it. Quite punny as well. Rain, hail, or shines, it doesn't matter. You can trust Nicho Hynes. I thought that was quite good. I made that up about 10 minutes before the stream because I thought about, well, the game was in the rain and Hynes still managed to get 124. Just looks super involved. Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed that. Scored the try, a couple of try assists, goal kicking, lots of tackles, like 20 tackles, like good like honestly, the scoring, the accumulation of points, as we always like to say, is just incredible. You can see there, like, the stats have just been filled across the board. So really, really dominant performance from Nicho Hynes. Definitely regretting that I didn't go for him. His break even was around 51. So 124, he's going to soar in price. So especially now the fact that was his round 3 score and he scored 100 in round 2. So I think his price is really going to start to skyrocket. So I'm really thinking hard about how I can get him in now because I don't want to miss the boat. He's got the Tigers this week, is it? No, sorry. They don't have the Tigers. They have the Tigers in round 5. So I definitely want to target him for that match. I think he could be a very strong captaincy option in that week. So I really want to go for it. The ownership is also really high now. It's up to 18%. We're going to see that get up to around 25%, I reckon, come next week. So yeah, Hynes, I think I'm going to have to try and get him into my team. Looks unreal. And because of the amount of points scored, just a lot of points with the backs there. So Ikavalu, Katoa, Ramian, all did very well there. Ramian did a nice little flick pass for Katoa. Britton Nakora 67, so a few people did sell him, but came up good this week. But yeah, lots of good scores there. You know, Talakai, Blake Brayley got got a try assist, so he's done pretty well. Even with Trindle on the bench, Brayley still played the majority of minutes. So good performance from him, looking like a decent kind of mid-range hooker. People are looking to downgrade Marnie potentially and raise some money. But yeah, overall, I mean, there's not really too much else I think to speak about from the Sharkies there. I mean, Fafita only 15 down the bottom there, so probably killed a few people's vice captain loopholes, but because he did get Simbin. But yeah, overall, it's the Hynes show, and I think he's definitely the best asset to go for from the Sharks team and one of the best overall. But some positives from the Dragons. I mean, Lomax 65, really not doing much. Shows how good of a floor he's got. Jackbird 66 with a try. Ben Hunt's actually been pretty solid as well. It's kind of hard to invest in these Dragons players though, just because they've looked decent, but sometimes can be a little bit inconsistent as well. And the draw is a bit up and down. It doesn't really ever get super good. So Lomax is my kind of primary target just because I know he can punch out these 60, 65s when his team only scores 12 points. He's got good base, goal kicks, potential for try assists because he does also like that flick pass out to his winger as well. So they're the main kind of, I mean, really, Lomax is the main player I'm looking at targeting from the Dragons. Slow, not ideal with only 26 points. Really doesn't have the base stats. So, I mean, it's hard to say if he's a big sell. I mean, I think if I had him in my team, though, I'd be probably losing patience and I probably would sell. Just because 26 and the low base just means that he can throw up these really low scores. He can obviously give you those high scores, but with the Dragons being inconsistent, maybe it's worth just kind of saving the headache for now. And maybe just kind of looking elsewhere in terms of the options. But yeah, overall, Hynes is the one to go for. Tom says, do a poem a week. Oh, that's a challenge, isn't it? You know what? I'll keep that in mind. I've actually got pen and paper to, take some notes down from you guys' recommendations. So maybe I will write a poem a week. How about that? If I can't do good in my own Supercoach team, I may as well try to provide some entertainment value with some poems. But right, we'll go to the next game. So Warriors and Tigers. I only watched bits and pieces of this. I probably watched about half of it. And then I tried to listen to it in the car, but it's kind of always hard to get a bit of a feel for the game when you're just listening on the commentary. But yeah, so I was happy enough with you and Aiken scoring that try. Didn't involve a line break, but 61 points, I'm fairly happy with that. Curran pretty solid with 56, just generally low scoring game. It wasn't the best game on paper quality wise, so it's kind of reflected in the actual scores here on the Supercoach app or website, sorry. So like Matt Lodge maybe does seem to have an effect on some of the other forwards. This was his first game playing probably like more significant minutes, and we've had Curran get lower than he's normally scored. Fanul Blake scored a bit lower, so it's maybe something to think about, if you're an owner of, say, a Fanul Blake. I think if you are and you don't really have any other issues in your team, I think he is a potential sell just because of the price tag and the scores he's offering up. The first 2 weeks were bolstered by attacking stats, not quite getting them this week. So only the 41, so the base is a little bit down. Graham said, don't give up my day job for poultry. Now, I take offense to that. You say it sounds like you're not really a fan of the poultry. No, I definitely won't be giving up my day job for poultry. That is for sure. I'm not even giving up for YouTube. That's true as well. But yeah, so overall, pretty low scores. I mean, it was a bit of a scrappy affair. I mean, we can talk about the controversial no try call for Luciano. Not even a no try. They didn't even review it, which is pretty crazy. The fact that they review most things, there's no harm in just saying, just give it a check. But just flat out refusing to do so was pretty tough on Tigers fans who've got another loss now. James Tarmer with the try, so 70 points. Jock Madden actually looked pretty good, filling in for Jackson Hastings. So, I mean, the window of opportunity with him is only going to be 3 weeks. He is cheap, but probably not going to be anything in terms of a cash cow just because he's only going to be there for about 3 weeks, or kind of that's what we understand. Luke Brooks, 62, he does this every now and then. He seems to throw up pretty decent scores. But Gildup has actually looked quite good on the left-hand side. That definitely seems like they're more attacking side with the centers at least. So he looks pretty good. I think he got a couple of line breaks in this game from memory. 2 line breaks in there. Pretty decent run numbers as well. So Gildup's been okay. It's still it feels very difficult still to invest in the Tigers players, just the way that they're playing overall with the club at the moment. Maybe Luciano Leilua, could be an option in your forwards. Scored 49, but if he gets that try, then that's plus 17 points there. So then you're looking at like a 65. So then it becomes a bit more of a viable option. But overall, I'm just not really looking at too many of the Tigers players. And even the Warriors, they did have a good draw to start the season. That that window of opportunity is starting to narrow down as well. So just taking a look at it here. So they do have the Broncos and then the Cowboys, but I don't think the Cowboys are looking that bad either. So that's not even potentially such an easy game. And then it goes to the Roosters, the Storm, the Raiders, Sharks, Rabbitohs. So the draw for the Warriors does start to kind of peter off in the next couple of weeks. So I think if you don't have any Warriors players, maybe aside from Curran, probably not actively looking, I think, at too many of them. And with the attackers, I'm even considering, potentially with Valea, because he's injured at the moment. Because that draw does get tougher in the future, look, if you've got money and you can upgrade him to someone good, like say he's your only person to make way for a Taylor May, look, I think it's a decent move. Because the draw does get a bit tougher, even his cash generation might not be that good. That is something to think about as well. But next up, Rabbitohs and Roosters, but I'll quickly look at some questions in the chat as well. So let's see. SuperCoach 2022. Don't think Sloan is worth his price. Yeah, he's about what? He'll drop down a little bit, I imagine. I can't remember his break even. He's around 440k. There's probably a lot of other cheaper options. I mean, you can do a downgrade to Taylor May, and that frees up almost 200k. So look, there's another poem for you guys. Downgrade to May, free up 200k. Guys, I think I can take up the poetry. Moss saying, Aman, I'm struggling with whether or not I pop 3 trades for Stags, Russell, and Marnie. Russell kind of depends if we get any further injury news, but that could be, I think, an okay kind of trade boost. Say, for example, I didn't use my trade boost this week. I am thinking about using my trade boost this week because I can see like 3 trades that I want to do. This week it was hard for me to see 3 trades I wanted to do. In hindsight, Walker to Hynes would have been a nice 3rd trade. But this week I'm definitely seeing more. I think it happens just as we're getting more information. And the draw slightly changed for some teams as well. So I think I'm very close to maybe doing 3 trades this week. I don't think it's a horrible idea doing the 3 trades this week. I think trading hard early to set up your team is not a bad idea. If you can get in the right, like say for example, if you missed 1 or 2 kind of key cash cows, or there's a player who's like say Hynes who's clearly looking amazing, and you've just missed the boat at the beginning. I think burning trades to try to get them just to kind of keep yourself up with the pack is not a bad strategy. So I don't think it's that bad of an idea going for those 3 moves. Taking out Stags, Russell, and Marnie, I think are probably justifiable in my eyes. Cameron gone from 783 to 1127. Thanks for your help. Well, good to know that I gave you an extra 400 points somehow. I don't know how I quite did that, but no, I'm just joking. Appreciate that, Cameron. Adam, I might have to sell Katoa from the Warriors as well. Harris coming back. Yeah, I mean, he's a bit cheaper, so he's someone you can just park on the bench, hopefully holds his value. Ben White, is it time for Stags? Is the time for Stags patience up? Basically, he's asking, have I run out of patience with Stags? I'd say so. I would say so. I wanted to give him just another game, but the Broncos, they don't have. I think they've got the Warriors this week, which is a decent matchup. But I've been playing matchups for the past few weeks. It hasn't seemed to work out. And he's going to continue to tank cash, so I would sell this week. I think I've kind of lost my patience. Graham said it as well. Stags to May. Yeah, that looks like an easy move. Even though Taylor May won't go up in price this week, it'll be after his third game. Just the way that the Panthers are as a team, they like their left-hand side. They're a good attacking outfit. You can see him getting good points. So I think it's fine to even bring in someone like Taylor May this week. And I'm very seriously thinking about doing that myself as well. And I wanted to address another question just to kind of kick off this discussion around Rabbitohs and Roosters. So we've got Quentin. Shout out to Quentin. Runs a great podcast for any FPL viewers out there. Definitely check them out. FPL Amateurs of Australia. Great stuff there. And I also spoke on their podcast not so long ago. He says, who would you get out Angus for? Cam Murray, ? Well, you see Cam Murray, 129 points, and you think you have to get Cam Murray, right? I mean, look, again, hindsight, it would have been nice to go from Angus to Cam Murray, but he looks so good. He looks so good. Scored that early try, but had a hand in two others. Very, very busy. Lots of tackles, as he always does. 40 tackles. I have a feeling he played pretty decent minutes. So I'm just going to quickly take a look at the minutes here on NRL.com, because that's a good sign with Murray. If he's playing, these big minutes, that's really what you want to be seeing out of him. So yeah, 77 minutes. He played 73 last week. So with a nice draw coming up as well, you can also see the attacking stats continue for Cam Murray. He looks so good. I think it's a great trade-in going for Cam Murray. Now, it does feel a little bit points chasing because he's just come off the back of a big 120-point game. But we know that he's a Supercoach gun. So it's not like you're getting someone who potentially could just be a bandwagon that might fizzle out. He's someone that you can get in and hopefully just keep for the rest of the season. So I would be fine with bringing in Cam Murray. He looked really, really good. Lots of points here for the Rabbitohs players, given that they scored quite a few tries. So Kolomatangi had a pretty good game, had one disallowed try, but eventually scored another. Damien Cook with 75, so pretty good game from him. He hasn't really been someone I've considered. I'm just thinking now with my hooker slot, I either just want to go for Harry Grant, or I might just go cheap with, say, like a Blake Brayley or a Tom Starling, who we'll get onto when we speak about the Raiders. But Jai Arrow, he actually downgraded quite a bit. He was on 73, and then he updated down to 61. So he lost some stats there. I think he might have lost a line break, but Jai Arrow has been a very solid kind of front row forward option for you if you started with him. Second row forward and front row forward dual listed is very, very handy as well. So, I mean, it's hard to bring him in unless you're doing a big downgrade. Like, I could maybe do like AFB down to Jai Arrow, but it doesn't free up that much money for me. So I'm not sure how I'm going to navigate Jai Arrow, but I think if you've got him, he's a great kind of steady option that you can keep in your front row forward for now. Cody Walker and Latrell had good games. Walker 59, but with a try, so kind of indicative again of the low base that he has, but good to see him have a decent score, but he's still going to drop a bit of cash. So I'm not looking at Walker, I think, for the next few weeks, but it seems like the halves and the 5/8 is really where a lot of the points are coming from. We just saw this week that Dylan Brown, Cam Munster, and Nico Hynes all scored centuries. And so you're seeing a lot of points in those areas, so I don't mind going hard in those areas. Now, Ilias got 31, which is fine, but no real kind of attacking stats here either. Latrell was my kind of second recommendation of a fullback replacement for Tom Trbojevic. I'm glad I told people that if you're selling Tom, get Hynes in there. So I'm glad that advice paid off because Hynes did the best out of any of the fullbacks. But Latrell, 53 there, scored that try late in the game. That definitely did help boost his score up. But it was still a tough match against the Roosters. So, you can kind of forgive these slightly lower scores. But it was Cam Murray who was the main star there for the Rabbitohs. Campbell Graham's a bit disappointing, only the 30 points. As I highlighted in my video that his base power had been really high the past couple of weeks, but only 30 points, so definitely a big regression there. So I hope no one jumped on him based on my advice, but definitely still one to watch, I think, because he still had those two big scores earlier in the season. Just jumping across to the Roosters now, so a couple of good scores here from Joey Manu and Tupou. So Manu's actually had quite a few good scores. He's always got decent base. So had that very nice individual effort as well, scoring the try, slamming the ball like near Latrell's face, but then Latrell had the last laugh with his team getting over the line. Now Tupou, I know a few people in the preseason said, should you go for Tupou? I probably foolishly said, he probably isn't the best option because he didn't have a great kind of 2021. But silly me, wasn't really thinking about all the players coming back for the Roosters were really going to help out someone like Tupou. So he's actually done really good. So I think he now, with the Roosters draw opening up very, very nice from round 4, could be a good option in your centre wing. Say, for example, if you're taking out Staggs and you want to upgrade instead of downgrading, someone like Tupou is a worthwhile consideration. Because if we just take a look at the Roosters draw here, it's very, very nice. You're going to want to hold on to your Roosters players, which is why I'm in a bit of a dilemma with Sam Walker and what I want to do with him. So you've got the Cowboys coming up, and then you've got the Broncos. Now, Cowboys, especially away, I don't see that as a super easy fixture. The Cowboys have actually looked pretty decent to begin the year. But then you've got the Broncos, then you've got the Warriors, the Dragons. I'm guessing that Dragons game is Anzac Day match, though. So they normally do kind of fire up for that match. So I don't think that's going to be particularly easy, but still a good matchup on paper. Then they've got the Bulldogs, which is honestly not looking like the easiest game, no pun intended. Games with the Bulldogs look like a bit of a dogfight at the moment. They're keeping the games pretty low scoring. Now, the weather probably is part of that. But, then it's the Titans in round 9. I think that I'm starting to get a better idea of the teams to target from an attacking point of view. Teams like the Titans, who concede a lot of points, is right up there. Teams like the Tigers concede a lot of points. I think Warriors on their day can also concede a few points. But the Bulldogs, I'm thinking, not really conceding too many points. Dragons can concede a lot of points, but they're also quite inconsistent. But I'm just trying to develop in my head a bit of an understanding about some of those teams that can concede a lot of points. Now, it's a bit more off topic, but say in round 13 when they versus the Raiders are also a team I think that can concede a lot of points. They had pretty poor edge defense. So I'm just starting to get a slightly better sense of those teams I think that we can target. So Adam's actually asking, he thinks that Souths are going to score some points in the coming weeks. So if you take a look at their draw opens up very, very nicely as well from, I think, round 5. So just have a quick look there. Yeah, so they've got the Panthers coming up, which is obviously very tough. But then you've got the Dragons, Bulldogs, Tigers, Manly, Broncos, Warriors. I think getting in someone like Cam Murray, as Quentin was saying before, could be a great move because they've got that really nice draw coming up. Now, I think I can see points against the Dragons, the Tigers, Manly. I feel like Manly can also concede quite a few points on their day, and they're not looking fantastic. Then you got the Broncos. So I think anyone who's held Walker, as Adam has said in the chat, I think if you've held him now, you just hold on to him. He's going to lose a lot of cash. You won't lose that cash unless you actually sell him. Like, you won't realize that loss unless you sell him. So now that's just one more tough matchup against the Panthers. With Latrell back, you'd expect the Rabbitohs to be getting a little bit better, getting their combinations a bit more in check. So yeah, if you've got Walker, I would just hold now. But yeah, on the Roosters, so that's my big dilemma, is Sam Walker. Now, Takiaho's actually had 2 decent scores in a row. Tedesco looked pretty involved, as he always does. 64 points with a try there. I thought he was in for a big score, but obviously the Rabbitohs got on top throughout the course of this game. Decent scores as well from Nat Butcher and Collins. So Butcher got the start over Crichton. It's still not sure if I want to go for him just because of that indecisiveness about whether he's actually going to start or not, with Angus Crichton just kind of lurking on the bench there. So that still kind of puts me off a little bit going for like a Nat Butcher. But Billy Smith, who I played, got 46, so a decent base there. Satili Tupanua, a bit of a down game, only the 42 points, but if you've got him, looks like a hold to me just because of that nice draw coming up. Now, Sam Walker really is a big question mark for myself. I'd be very interested to see anyone in the chat or later on in the comments see what you're going to do with Sam Walker if you held on to him. Because this run that it's coming up, as I highlighted, that's kind of the period of time that you want him for, right? He's goal kicking, so you know that if the Roosters score a lot of points, you would hope that he's going to get, at least an extra kind of 10, 12 points to his score. Now, he isn't the best goal kicker, so he can easily lose points as well by missing the goal kicks. But yeah, I think I can see Sam Walker over this period of games averaging maybe like 60, 65 maybe. I can see Hynes averaging like 70, 75 though, like comfortably. And like my 60-65 prediction average for Sam Walker, I'm a little bit unsure of. Hynes saying he can average 75 the way he's looking. To me, that seems pretty comfortable. So I'm just thinking now that I've got Tedesco, so I've got some Roosters coverage. I've got Billy Smith, so I can plug in Billy Smith for this nice run of games coming up. But at that halfback slot where we don't have that many spaces to fill, I'm thinking I might pull the pin. I might go Walker to Hynes. I think it was the right move this week. Might not be the right move next week with a nice game coming up, but that's my initial thought at the moment. I'm thinking of doing Walker to Hynes for now. It's either going to be Walker to Hynes or Miney to Grant. That's kind of my big gun upgrade that I'm thinking of for this week. So we'll touch on that when we get onto the Eels game. But yeah, overall, pretty comprehensive win by the Rabbitohs in the end. And Luke Keary, only 19 points. I think if you're a Luke Keary owner, this is kind of what he can offer. He's very much a roller coaster. Can give you a lot of big points, but can also give you those down scores. I'd personally be selling, I think, if you can get to, say, like a Munster or like a Nico Hynes. I think if you can make that switch in your halfback or 5'8", I'd probably do it. And yeah, Ben has just said in the chat, so he's torn on Sam Walker. Brought him in for the first 8 rounds. Yep, exactly. But after seeing how Hynes is going and that Walker hasn't done anything crazy, makes me not want to keep him. That's the thing. Sam Walker last year was so good because the rules helped. You know, he had those like 120, 160 point games. We're not going to see that, I think, especially with the likes of Keary back. He's just going to, like, Sam Walker's not going to have as much of that involvement as what he had last year. Last year, it was him and Tedesco. And he just came in like a whirlwind. The rules suited him. You know, it was an open style of game. You know, tied forwards. The way that he runs, he jinks around. That's good for him. He's not going to get as many of those opportunities. And with Keary back in the team, it probably takes some of that appeal away from Walker. Now, I think Walker over this period of time probably does average around 60 just because he's goal kicking and he's still a gun himself. He can obviously get those try assists. But, yeah, he also is inconsistent. He does have low base. So, look, he looked good in person, but I'm just thinking the upgrade of Sam Walker to Hynes is probably enough of an upgrade to make that switch. If I could get both, that might be ideal. But Brad Schneider's a nice little cheapie there in the halfback slot, and making money is also important at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, I'm thinking about doing that switch. Sandy, I'm so glad that I got rid of Sam Walker and got in Nico Hynes. Way to rub it in, Sandy. Just way to rub it in. You know, I'm just here, you know, condoling myself that I didn't go for him, and you're just saying you're so glad you did it. Look, I'm happy for you. That probably was the right move on paper. And yeah, I think I'm going to be joining you on that this week, barring any other unexpected news. It's probably enough about that game. So I'm conscious that I've only spoken about 3 games and we're about half an hour into it. So I'll try to speed through these a little bit more because I'll probably wrap it up in about an hour. But yeah, Panthers and Knights. Now, obviously, the big talking point out of this was Mitch Barnett and that shot on Chris Smith, I think it was. Just, that's not what you want to see. That's not what you want to see at all. So he deserved that send-off. Who knows how many weeks. I'm not going to try guess how long he's going to go for. It's hard to kind of get a read on the judiciary, but I'm sure he'll be out for a substantial amount of time. So from a Supercoach perspective, it'll be interesting to see who the kind of replacement is in the forwards. Could be Momasia gets extended run. Brodie Jones should be coming back as well, so it could be him. So that's kind of more what I wanted to take out of that. Just see who potentially comes in. Could be maybe a cheapie for us on the cards there. But I thought the Knights overall are actually looking like a pretty good team. So they were 12 men down for quite a long time in this game, but still did keep that game pretty close in the end. Like, there was a couple of late tries for the Panthers, so made the scoreline look a little bit more in favour of Penrith. But the Knights overall were pretty good, pretty impressive. So I think definitely a team that I've got more confidence targeting. So say like a Gagai and a Dominic Young, who are 2 centres we discussed in last week's video. So Dom Young again scored 52 points. Gagai, again, with another try assist for Dom Young. Good base, so 60 points there. Bradman Best with a try. Tex Hoy had a very good game, as did Kurt Mann. So obviously Kurt Mann, if anyone didn't watch the game, he went off for a HRA, but he didn't actually get hit in the head. He got hit in the other area downstairs, which looked pretty painful, but he had to go off for 10 minutes, but he had a really good game. I think he had like 40 tackles. I think he had like 2 or 3 try contributions. He had a line break in there. Just a lot of involvement overall. I'm not quite sure of the minutes he played. I'll have a quick look here on NRL.com because that was the main thing with Kurt Mann as an option, was about the minutes. I know a few people did sell him this week though, which is kind of the hit that Kurt Mann took for him to get sent to the HIA is probably the hit that people felt emotionally seeing him do so well after trading him out in their team. So 66 minutes, so pretty good outing in terms of the minutes there from Kurt Mann. So yeah, it could be an option, but it's still a couple of low scores and then all of a sudden a good score. Doesn't make you want to just jump into him. Tyson Frizzell 55, so if anyone for him, pretty solid overall there. 55, I'm going to guess all in base, kind of what Frizzell kind of offers you, but playing with 12 men against a very good outfit, the potential for those attacking stats is just going to go down just that little bit. So I don't think it's the worst score overall. If you went for Frizzell, I'd be pretty happy with that. The draw still is pretty tough for the Knights though, but for someone like Frizzell who's a forward, it's not going to be so much of an issue. Let's see. I'm going to go quickly to the chat. There wasn't too much more I wanted to speak about from the Knights. Leo Thompson actually could be a consideration now that Barnett looks like he's going to be out for a while. And Chris Randall, yeah, disappointing. He doesn't look like a great play in your 17. And even the cash generation, I'm not sure how much cash is going to be made from him as well. Let's see. Michael, hope you're ready for Cleary. Yeah, Cleary's probably going to be back this week. Do I just skip Hynes? Do I just go straight from Walker to Cleary? Maybe, but getting in Cleary at his price is going to require a lot of surgery, I reckon. So I think I might give it a miss. Well, I don't want to say I'm going to just give Cleary a miss. That sounds crazy. But I think I'd rather just stick with Hynes for now and then maybe try work my way up to Cleary. I think just with money so tight at the moment, tied up in those guns who are underperforming, getting to Cleary is going to be tough. If I can get to Hynes for now and then jump on Cleary as well, that might be the way to go. But could be even just selling one of your fullbacks, to be honest. Sell one of your fullbacks, switch Hynes down to fullback, and then get Cleary up at halfback. That could be the strategy if you are looking to go for Cleary, to be honest. Jacob, I feel like Walker will get better when Kiri and Walker start to gel. To be fair, I think Walker and Kiri are playing fine together. I don't necessarily think that's holding back Sam Walker. I think they're actually having a decent combination. So I don't necessarily think that's actually affecting his scoring that much. Barnes, why is Trent benching Angus? Mate, I wish I could give Trent Robinson a call and ask him because it would really, really help me out to know why he's doing that. But I think what I heard from Wacko's Whispers was his form. So it's kind of just a bit of a kick up the backside, try to get Angus to fire up a little bit because he didn't start the season the best. So supposedly it's for form. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Angus back in the starting lineup in a few weeks. But while he's on the bench, he's just not an option. Sandy, I've been experimenting on the wrong captain. Any tips on best captain? If you watch my videos, I do a captaincy section. Captaincy is tough, right? You just try to go for the best player with the best matchup. I normally always fixate on the matchup, so like the draw. So for example, this week, I went for Payne Haas this week because he's normally a safe 60, 65 points, which he got. And I thought the Cowboys, potentially a weaker team, maybe he can kind of get a meat pie. Didn't work out. But captain, I think to not get such a bad captain score, you try to go for those players who have a quite high floor. So say those halfbacks, like say a Dylan Brown, a Cam Munster, Nico Hynes, they're all guys who've got very good base. The added bonus of Nico Hynes is that he goal kicks. So you add that to his base stats and he's already looking at like a 50 floor. So from a captain perspective, it just means if he gets a couple of attacking stats, he's already going to look at like a 70, 80 pointer, which is kind of what you want to see from your captain. So that's how I start thinking about my captaincy, or say forwards with upside. So say like a Dave Fafita is one traditionally we've also gone to, say, last year. Haven't quite seen that from him though this year. But yeah, normally anyone who goal kicks is handy. All those guys have just got high floor but good upside. So say like Harry Grant, got a very good base because he makes a lot of tackles, but we know that he can also get those try assists as well. TK, do I get rid of Hughes for Hynes? I don't think I'd be getting rid of Hughes. We'll look at the Storm in a bit, but I can't remember how he scored. But that does feel a bit sideways. Moz, gonna go for Taylor May. Yeah, let's talk about the Panthers. I've been ranting a little bit, talking at the chat. So yeah, Taylor May scored the hat trick. It's like a Brian To'o 2.0. It's To'o 2.0. Sorry, I tried to do another rhyme there. That was really bad, guys. Apologies. But yeah, try assist, hat trick, line break, lots of tackle breaks. Him and Targo looked amazing on the left-hand side. Now, granted, they were playing against 12 men. That does help them out. But it's the Panthers. I think they're going to still be deadly on that left-hand side against 13 men. So I think, look, you don't have to get tailor-made this week because his price won't go up until until his third game, which we guess in round 5. But you know that he can score points because he's got good base stats as well. So I think if you're doing a downgrade, say of Tony Staggs, Cobbo, these kind of guys like Terrell Sloan, Taylor May, you're going to see as one of the most traded in players this week. And I think, there's a good chance, Moz, that I'll go for Taylor May this week. I don't see much downside apart from the fact that maybe he gets injured in his third game and doesn't make money. But look, I think he's going to be a good point scorer as well. Michael, did Gags give man his Queensland jersey? Yeah, that's the honestly, I feel like Gagai's been wearing his Queensland jersey playing for the Knights. He's been really good in the opening rounds as well. Lyle, if you didn't buy May week 1, why would you buy him week 2 against the Rabbits? I'd wait, but I'm biased because you already have his 106. Look, fair enough argument. It is the Rabbitohs, but it's kind of a thing where people might want to just bring him in this week so that they can, the week after, focus on other moves potentially. And look, the Rabbitohs can concede points. Like, they're coming up against the Panthers. Panthers are a great attacking team. So I think Taylor May, even against the Rabbitohs, can still give you like an easy 50 points, in all honesty. So I don't think it's a worst shout going for May this week. But yeah, Stephen Crichton done well again, 85 points. I think he scored a try in this one as well, didn't he? Yeah, he scored a try, 20 points in goal kicking. So, once Cleary comes back, if you take that out of his score, that's 65 points, which is still a good outing. But just be wary of that now that Cleary's probably coming back in round 4. But Crichton, anyone who had it for the first 3 weeks, has done really well. I know a couple of people did ask about him in the preseason, and he's come up trumps for you, so well done. Jerome Luai with a good 75, Dylan Edwards with a couple of try assists as well, so both having good scores there. Isaiah Yeo, who I brought in, got 53, basically all in base stats. Didn't really get any attacking upside there, but I was fine with that. I'll take 53 points from Yeo. His price is about 500k, so he'll be a nice steady option for me, so I'm happy enough with that. The bad kick out, 31 points. It's just the roller coaster. So he's very inconsistent, and he does this. So I hope I was like transparent enough about that. If people were looking to buy him, like I mentioned, I was personally not going to go for kick out because I know he can be inconsistent. Look, I feel for you, anyone who jumped on him, seeing that he didn't do well. But I'm kind of happy that I didn't go for him, and he didn't do so well, because I would have been a bit concerned if he did well again. He would have gone up massively in price, and I would have probably had a bit of FOMO. But 31 points just shows a roller coaster. But look, he'll still make some money. Still playing on a very good team. I think if you got him, you hold him for a few weeks now, because you know that he can get those attacking points there. And Spencer Lenu, even though he started only 22 points, is just not looking like a great kind of cheapy front row forward option there. Dual Position Podcast, hello, Whisperer, welcome. I was watching a stream actually just before I jumped on mine, so thank you for tuning in. Crazy Praying Mantis 1, 2, 3, 4. You scored that again. Good score there. Barnes, is Randall going to make any cash? Yeah, what's his break even? His break even is -4. He'll make a bit of cash, but he might be one of those guys who just makes like 50, 60k and then kind of peters out. So he might not be the best cash cow, but hopefully we can get some money out of him. A few people in the chat asked Matt Cleary. They were kind of waiting to see for a few weeks as well. So I think, coming back off a shoulder injury, as Whisperer says in the chat, so it's a good point he makes there. So yeah, as he's coming off the shoulder injury, you might just want to give it a couple of weeks, see how he adjusts with the scoring. If he hits the ground running, then fine, we can go for him. But I think because his ownership will be low, you won't get burnt not going for him. So it might be fine just to wait a week or two, just to not have to rush him in. Because if you rush him in and all of a sudden he throws up like say 60, 65, that's still going to drop his price massively as well. So yeah, that would probably be my general advice, I think, with Cleary. Dual Position, Aman, how about the Dillbags resurgence? Yes, we are onto the Storm Eels game. My boy, Dylan Brown. Started with him last year, completely failed and underwhelmed me and made me very upset because he was my pod 5'8". And you know what? I said, I'm swallowing my pride. I'm going back there again this year. Dillbags was back in 2.0 and he has been great. He has started the season very well, looked very good in this game as well against the Storm. So 100 points, I will take that. 100 points, I could not fathom Dylan Brown getting 100 points last week, but that is beautiful, absolutely beautiful to see. So, where is he? Yeah, so he got 32 tackles, which is insane for a 5'8". 7 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 2 try assists. Easy points for Dylan Brown. I really like him as a buy in your 5'8". Like him and Munster are looking fantastic. So Munster, we can't shy away from that 121 points there as well. So really, really good score from Munster. Had like 3 try contributions, I think it was. I don't think he even scored a try, did he? No try. Yeah, he had a try assist, 3 try contributions, good base, lots of tackle breaks. He had lots of tackle breaks this game. Line break, 3 line break assists, lots of running. Yeah, so Munster just getting involved as he always does. So Munster, look, if you haven't got Munster, but if you've got Dylan Brown, you'd be happy enough, I think, with that compromise given the price difference. But it's looking like the halves, right? The Dylan Brown, the Munsters, the Hynes, they're the kind of ones that you want to target for these high scores. And trying to fit them all in is going to be tough. You might have to just go really, really cheap in your second row forward. Maybe just completely kill one of your front row forwards as well, like say AFB. Just drop them down to like a cheapie, and then use that money to bolster up your 5'8". But yeah, no, really happy with Dylan Brown's 100 points there. Isaiah Papali'i, just going back to his 2021 status with 94 points there. So really good outing from him, and also Clint Gutherson. I think Gutherson has started the season very well. So 87 points. So anyone who had him at their fullback spot, they're probably pretty happy with his performances over the past few weeks. Pappenhausen up there. So his score was definitely boosted by the try and obviously the few additional points from goal kicking, but happy enough to see Pappenhausen crack the ton. And Brandon Smith, like, what the hell? This guy had a broken hand, supposedly, and comes back and just gets 102 points. You know, he had a try assist. So, yeah, that would have been really frustrating for anyone who started with him. You got 1 point. You probably traded to Harry Grant, and then Harry Grant missed out, so you probably kept Harry Grant. And then Brandon Smith ends up getting 102 points. So, over those first 3 weeks, you were actually better off holding Brandon Smith than moving to Grant. He scored an extra 10 points, I want to say, over those first 3 weeks. So apologies for saying that in case you didn't realize that. But Brandon Smith, again, just showing the attacking upside, still a very, very valid option to go for in your 2RF. And I think if we had known that he was going to play, I probably would have discussed him more this week in terms of those kind of 2RF replacements. But he was a late inclusion, so it's kind of hard to justify. Josh King, 85 points, sitting on my non-player reserves. Now, I benched him because I thought, well, he's a forward. He's not going to have an upside. And then he proceeds to get a line break assist, try assist, offload, all in one play. And I'm thinking, bloody hell. But you know what? It's annoying that I didn't play him, but I'm happy enough with the 85 points. It just means he's going to go up in value. Now, with Brandon Smith back, I'm going to suspect that King goes back to the bench. And Brandon Smith will start at lock and Harry Grant at number 9. But I think even coming off the bench, if he plays like 40 minutes, still could be good for like 45, 50 points. You know, his PPM hasn't been good, but his PPM hasn't been good when he's playing bigger minutes. Potentially, if he plays less minutes, maybe the PPM goes up. So I still think he's an okay buy. It'll be interesting to see what his price is actually after this week. But yeah, happy enough with him in my squad, for some cash generation. Not really much else to speak of. So Jerome Hughes, yeah, only 44. So Hughes has actually dropped off quite a bit in the past couple of weeks since all the other gun players are back. So maybe Hughes to Hynes actually isn't a bad option. Now I'm thinking about it. It could be in a similar boat to say the Sam Walker trade. It actually might be worth it to whoever asked earlier. Let's see. Sandy, what are a few of your absolute musts this week? Oh, I'd have to give it some thought. It's hard to say because we're going to have our first price changes happen this week. So it'll be interesting to see with prices. But, some early ones that I can think of, like Nico Hynes, looking more and more like a must with each week if you haven't got him already. He's kind of the main standout. Like Munster could be a must, but, you've got guys like Dylan Brown who are doing fairly well at the 5'8" spot. So Munster is probably up there as well. Harry Grant could be a must if, say, you're with a struggling Reid Marnie and you just want to go for a gun. Harry Grant, if he comes back, the Storm do have a good draw now as well from rounds 4 onwards. I mean, the Storm are a good team irrespective. So for them, the matchup isn't as important. But they do come into a nice run of games now from round 4 onwards. So they've got the Bulldogs, Raiders, Sharks, Warriors, Knights, Dragons. It's overall pretty decent for the Storm. So someone like Harry Grant could be close to a must for you this week as well. Kind of depends on your team makeup. But those are 2 or 3 that I can already think of early on. Jerry, Dylan Brown, I feel is a trap, hot and cold, and I'm a Para supporter. Oh, I don't think he... look, I'm biased. I love the bloke. I went back to him this year after he burnt me last year. The reason I don't think he's a trap is because his base stats are good. because his base stats are so good, you're not going to get any rubbish scores out of him, and he's already looking so much better than what he did last year. So I'm thinking that these attacking stats I think he's got more attacking stats this year than he got all of last year. So the fact that he's got good base and those attacking stats mean he's probably a shoe-in for maybe like an easy 55, 60 points a week, I want to say. So like to me, that's not a trap. I think that's a pretty good, very good scorer, and you can pick him up at about, well, he's 460k at the moment. I want to see what his break even is. I can't remember from the top of my head. It was 43. So he's going to go up a bit in price, but look, he'll still be around like 500k, which is not a bad price in all honesty. But look, if you go for Munster, he's the standout. But no, I wouldn't necessarily agree that I think Dylan Brown's a trap, but it's easy to say this week when he scores 100. If he scores 30 next week, then I might be feeling differently as well. Let's see, a few questions coming in. Moz, which hooker would you get for money? You got enough money for all hookers? My obvious answer is going to be, if you can afford it, I'll just go for Harry Grant. But say if you don't go for him and go for like a Starling instead and drop down, then maybe that money gets used to say like a Nico Hynes. So, and yeah, obviously we didn't even talk about it, but yeah, the Storm Eels, that was a fun watch. Really, really fun watch overall, just in terms of an NRL standpoint. Golden Point, Mitchell Moses gets that try assist for Ray Stone. Shout out to Ray Stone. Gets a double and got injured, unfortunately. But yeah, no, really, really good watch. So the Saturday games were actually quite a decent watch because Raiders-Titans, the Raiders had a very nice second half comeback to pip this one in the end. But again, what I'm thinking are these two teams are teams that concede a lot of points. So the Titans can definitely attack. So I think their attacking players, like their backs or even their edge back rowers, can definitely score points. But they let in a lot of points as well. So don't be afraid to play your attacking players against the Titans. It sounds obvious, but I didn't follow my advice. As you can see there, Brad Schneider with 79 points there. He got a few goal kicks. I think he got a couple of try assists as well, I want to say. Yep, a couple of try assists, a line break in there. Yeah, so regrets not playing Brad Schneider, but this is why I'm thinking more and more about, instead of going for, say, the Walker and Hynes combo, having Hynes and Schneider, because Schneider is looking like a decent cash cow. The fact that his goal kicking does help. So I know guys like Whisperer, who was in the chat earlier, he went with the Walker Hynes double up, which I think is, it looks great, with Walker's really good draw and Hynes looking like an absolute gun. But look, like Schneider could be a good cash cow. So I think it probably is okay just going with one of those guns, probably Hynes and then say a Schneider. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment for my halves, if I can get to Hynes but keep Schneider in there. He should be a good money maker. So I'm thinking of just sticking with him for now. Shout out to whoever, I can't remember your name, I'm sorry. Hopefully you're either in the chat or you're watching the replay. You were asking me about Jordan Rapana as an option. I kind of just said, he's fine, but I wouldn't go for him. And then he bangs out 88 points. I really hope you stuck with Rapana because that's a good score. A really, really good score from Rapana. He does have this in his game as well. And Tomoko is a really good option. He was one that we were seeing last year as a potential cheapie. Just never came through. But yeah, 77 points here. I think he scored his first try on the weekend as well. So on his way to a nice 77 points there. Now, Tom Starling is going to be a big topic of discussion, I feel, this week. Because I think a lot of people who have Reed Marnie, who we didn't even talk about actually in the Eels game, but I think 39 points, just underwhelming. And I think he's probably looking like a sell. So you've got Harry Grant as an obvious gun, but do you go instead for the moneymaker in a Tom Starling? Whisper if you're in the chat, pump up your boy. I know you're a big Tom Starling fan. He's 70 points. Bit of a worry that he came off the bench, but still played like decent minutes, I want to say, and looked electric when he came on for Matt Frawley. So he's really good around the ruck. He makes a lot of tackles, so he's got pretty good base, but he really did inject some new energy into the Raiders outfit there. So I really like Tom Starling, kind of like from an NRL perspective, and I think I mentioned this in preseason. When he gets good minutes, he's a good Supercoach option because he's got a good work rate, and he's quite good out of dummy half as well. So Tom Starling could be a consideration. If you've saved a few trades, for example, like you haven't had to use all your trades. Someone like me who's used quite a few trades, I've used 4 trades so far. Maybe instead of going straight for Grant, maybe you can use, someone like Starling as a bit of a stepping stone to Grant. Say for example, Chris Randall doesn't look like he's going to be an amazing cash cow. If you've got the money spare and you've got your other guns in place, like, you've got a Hynes, you've got like a Munster, or you've got like a Dylan Brown, you've got like a decent decent second row forward, okay centers. Basically the rest of your team is looking okay. Maybe it's not a bad option to go from, like, say, a Randall to Tom Starling. He's definitely going to deliver more points than Randall is, that's for sure. He's not too expensive either. I think he's 380k from memory, 340k, even cheaper. His break-even was 27, so he's going to go up a little bit in price as well. The minutes is the concerning thing, the fact that he was benched, but it could be a tactical. Like we saw it with Connor Watson last year for the Knights. Quite often he was coming off the bench, but played the rest of the game throughout. So I just want to have a quick look at Starling's minutes there. So he played 55 minutes. Like 55 minutes is a concern because he's not going to get 70 points every week playing 55 minutes. Like that's for sure. So you really need him to be playing closer to like 70, 80 minutes. I think if you want to realistically jump on him and get like consistent points. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth between Tom Starling's. Apologies, guys. I just wanted to have a look at his stats. So yeah, try assist, try contribution, lots of tackle breaks, only 17 tackles, but got the line break. So like the score's definitely inflated by attacking numbers, but he does like to run the ball, so he can get those run meters as well. So I don't think I'd jump on Starling this week, just because after 1 week where he did well but was benched, it gives me some slight pause for concern. And I think they're versus the Storm this week. No, sorry, the Storm have the Bulldogs. I can't remember who the Raiders play. But I think it's okay to wait on Starling. But it could be an option, I think, for a Randall upgrade or even a Marnie downgrade, potentially. But yeah, other good performances. So Jack Whiten's actually done the start of the season pretty decently. So 62 points from him. Lots of Raiders forwards doing okay, but I don't really like going for most of the Raiders forwards because their minutes, the points just are so volatile with them. So yeah, overall, I think not really much more to talk about from the Raiders side. From the Titans, so Tino with a good 89 points there, scoring a try. Bo Fermor, regrets not going for him. Scored a try, I think got a try assist as well. So with the dual center wing, second row forward, if you can plug him in your center wing, you're laughing. You know, he looks like he's in for decent minutes. They definitely do like to attack down their left-hand side. So I think the Titans are a team that can score a lot of points. So I think if you've got an edge back row there, like sub 400k, like Bo Fermor, I think you'd be pretty happy with that. Dave Fafita, look, I decided not to sell Fafita. I just didn't feel comfortable selling both Fafita and Crichton. He's going to lose cash, but like 72 points, look, I'll take that. I'll definitely take 72 points from Fafita. Again, he didn't look involved at times, as per usual, but he did get 2 line breaks, a few tackle breaks in there as well. So 72 points. Look, I'm happy with that for now. Toby Sexton, 65. Fodawaker, 70 points. Did he get a try there? 70 points is 70 points with no attacking stats. Yeah. Fodawaker, 32 tackles, a few tackle breaks, lots of runs, and that's about it. Maybe one to watch. He can have this in this game where he does get a lot of tackle breaks. But yeah, Toby Sexton, 65. So I think if you've got someone like a Sexton, again, maybe a Hynes Sexton combo can give you some decent points there. So because Sexton's been pretty solid to begin the year. Brian Kelly and Sammy's looked really good actually, just from a real life perspective. A couple of nice points there, but not really much else I think to speak of out of the Titans. Marzud kind of came back a little bit to earth this week. No attacking stats there, but 38 points, just kind of indicative of his base there. And yeah, the Titans have the Tigers this week. You could see that game being like a 34-28. You know, one of those really high scoring games there. But yeah, Fafita could even be a captaincy option this week against the Tigers coming up this week. We've just clicked over an hour, so I'll hope to go just for another like 5-10 minutes, guys. I'll speed through the next couple of games there, but hopefully you guys are all enjoying the stream. We actually got 91 people watching, which I think is the most actually we've seen on the stream at the moment. So thanks everyone for tuning in on your Sunday evening as we share the pain or the gain, depending on your situation, of round 3. So give the stream a like as well if you are enjoying it. Kane, Cleary or Hynes for the long-term option? It's got to be Cleary, I think, for the long term. He's the best halfback in SuperCoach historically over the past few seasons, but I'm seeing a world where we have both Hynes and Cleary as our go-to halfbacks. Okay, let's go to the next game. So Broncos and Cowboys. Yeah, this one's disappointing. So Hugh has just asked in the chat as well, direct trades for Stags. He already has Targo. Yep, I think Stags is probably going to go for me this week as well. It's just really, really frustrating. They get the ball occasionally, and he looks okay when he gets the ball, But I think after 3 weeks where I've said, look, when he gets the ball, he looks good, but it hasn't really translated into much. I mean, he did drop the ball over the line last week. But yeah, 35 points again. It's been very disappointing. They've got the Warriors coming up, so you could maybe hold them for this week. Look, I played Cobbo and Stags, so that really burnt me. I think I had a lot more faith in the Broncos than I probably should have, and I had less faith in the Cowboys than I probably should have. So I think if you've got both of them, you don't have to necessarily sell both, just because it is the Warriors, so you can kind of hedge your bets, keep one of them, and maybe just sell one. But I think I'm perfectly fine selling both, honestly. Just not seeing much. Even if he scores against the Warriors, I'll be like, whatever. Spare myself the headache. After that, they've got the Roosters and then the Panthers. Draw starts to toughen up a little bit. So for me, Stags and Cobbo, you can hold because it's a good game coming up, but I'm happy to sell, and I'm close to thinking about selling both of them, in all honesty, this week. And in terms of direct replacements, so Taylor May, not necessarily going to go up in price this week. It will be the next week, depending on Brighton To'o's recovery from his injury, but it looks like that was actually 6 to 8 weeks. So it looks like Taylor May's got a bit longer of a stint in the side. So Taylor May looks like a good replacement to save money. Around the price, I'm guessing Stags is going to drop down to about 400. So around that price, you can maybe go to like a Bo Fermor from the Titans. That's not a bad idea. He's dual listed as well. So get an edge back role playing in your center wing like the old school days of SuperCoach. Lomax is always a good steady option. I mentioned previously, if you've got money, you can go up to someone like Tupou because the Roosters draw opens up very nicely coming up. So there's a few options. I think we'll definitely cover that, I think, in this week's video. Center wings, again, certain replacements. I mean, Petahiku. So I brought in Petahiku, only 20 points. So I definitely got sucked in there by the low break even and the good scores from the past couple of weeks, and he did not do much there. Just rounding out the Broncos chat though, not really much more to talk about. They still look a bit dysfunctional and disjointed in attack. So obviously still getting used to the kind of the new halfback situation there. I mean, Herbie Farnworth has looked really good. So it's actually the opposite centre of the Broncos who's done good. So he scored a double here. Well, one try was a penalty try, but 76 points. Pat Carrigan, a lot of minutes and a lot of base stats here. So 73 points. He had a very big workload this game. Now, Payne Haas, 62, was a bit disappointing because he only played about 57 minutes, which is his lowest minutes of the season. Hopefully it's just a one-off and hopefully it doesn't continue, because I was thinking he'd be more likely to play like 60 to 65 minutes. So he's more likely to get you like 70 points in that period of time. The 62 did come in with a line break as well. So he definitely got some junk stats towards the end of the game there. But he was my captain just because he was normally a safe 65. So I'll take that. I'll take 62 points. But yeah, a bit concerning slightly with the minutes there for Payne Haas. Now on the Cowboys have looked pretty good the past few weeks. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing actually out of the Cowboys. So Val Holmes had a really, really great game. I really like that run that he made. He did like an in and away from the fullback. Didn't end up scoring the try, but looked really good, like just good signs overall. Goal kicking, so that definitely helps out his score. Now, Tom Dearden has actually had like 3 good games. So he's scored 67, 59, and now 102. So I completely overlooked someone like Tom Dearden. Maybe he's an option, I'm not sure. But yeah, Jeremiah Nanai as well scored the hat-trick. I voiced my frustration on Twitter that the day in round 1 when Lukey was named on the bench, I was driving, so I literally couldn't check my phone and make the swap to Nanai. Oh boy, that would have been nice to have Nanai instead. Looks really attacking. He had a low score last week, but that was a lot of missed tackles and negative numbers. This week scored the hat trick, and there was no line breaks in them because 2 of the tries he scored from kicks. But yeah, 90 points before updates could be an option. I think he's going to go up to about close to 400k. So he's going to be quite a bit more expensive now, but still could be an option to go for, say via duals, Stags to someone like a Nanai, maybe is an option there. Taumalolo played about 52 minutes, I think it was, and he looks really good as well in his minutes, I want to say that. So it looks like he's definitely building into the season. Had a very nice try assist as well, so that definitely did boost up his score there. But yeah, it looked like a very nice Cam Murray type of try assist there, or like an Isaiah Yeo, very much those kind of typical ball playing locks. But yeah, nice 62 points from Taumalolo. So I think if you've got Taumalolo, you can stick with him. He's not screaming buy to him, but he's definitely someone I'm very closely watching because he's looking better and better with each week. Cotter benefited with Cohen Hess's injury early in the game, so he played decent minutes for 60 points, so pretty good work right there. Now this is crazy. I traded out Hilam Lukey because he was on the bench, and then bloody outscores my trade-in of Petahiku. Now that is annoying as. That was so annoying. Now granted, maybe Petahiku wasn't the best trade-in. All the points came in from Nanai, who's just playing on his bloody shoulder. The ball was never going to Hiku. He had a couple of errors, I think, in this game. Look, he'll make money because he had a minus 19 break even. But yeah, I'm not sure how much cash I'm going to get out of Petahiku. So he could be someone I move on pretty soon. But I'll keep him for a little bit just because the Cowboys, it seems like there's some good signs. But yeah, that was a bit of a disappointing trade, and especially when the guy you trade out scores more and he was coming off the bench. That's a kick in the that's a Kurt man kick in the area, I want to say. Looking at a few questions in the chat just before we get onto the final game. So Mitch says, what happened to Xavier Coates? He just had a bit of hamstring tightness, so I think it was more precautionary. He probably will be back next week. Yeah, I can see Lomax being shouted out as an option. Chazza up the Cowboys. Yeah, Cowboys are looking decent. Your trades were Hiku to May and Miney to Starling. You traded out Hiku. Did you trade out Hiku? Okay, well, I guess you made money from going to Taylor May and a lot of points there. 13-23. Like, that's a fantastic score this week. Congrats, Chazza. Esmond, what was up with Luke Thompson coming off the bench for the Dogs? Honestly, I didn't even check the team list before this game because I only had Max King playing and I couldn't reserve anyone else, so I just left it. I did not know that Luke Thompson came off the bench. Could be a tactical thing. I'm kind of zoned in and out of this game. I watch bits and pieces, so I'm seeing a few people in the chat saying that Hetherington potentially injured ? So if Jack Hetherington is injured, that could be good for someone like Max King. Maybe sees extra minutes. Now, only 32 points from King is disappointing, especially after seeing him score 55 on my non-playing reserves. So I decided to play him this week, and he proceeds to score 32. I don't think he got as many minutes as what he did. I don't think he got as many minutes as what he did in previous games. So I'll have a quick look at the minutes here. But I have a feeling he didn't. He just didn't get as many. So let's have a look. Yeah, 26 minutes. And he's been playing like 38, 40 minutes in the other past couple of games there. But yeah, Olaquatu, I kind of want to talk about him. So he only played 66 minutes. So I wonder if that's potentially just maybe he's still carrying that bit of an elbow injury. But he played like 80 minutes the past couple of games, so I don't really think that's the reason why. But yeah, very disappointing if you jumped on Olaquatu this week, 29 points. I know he was a very popular buy. I ended up not going with him. I went with Yo just because Yo's got that higher base floor. So look, this week it's worked out. It could bite me next week. But yeah, disappointing if you're an Olaquatu buyer this week. Bit of glimpses of attack from Manly down the left-hand side, a la 2021 with Ruben Garrick on the outside, setting back Tom Trbojevic for his try. But yeah, like again, Cherry Evans. I think Cherry Evans scored 60, 60, 62. So anyone who's got Cherry Evans has just been kind of plodding along in your 60s, which is fine. A few good scores there, like Garrick with 69 points there, 4 and 65. But Tom, 62. That is a kick in the teeth. He's already going to drop massively in cash with a break even of 307. But 62 points is, he's going to drop a lot. I did recommend captaining him. So he would have scored the same as like a Payne Haas. But this is the thing that he scored like less points than Tedesco and Pappenhausen, who are both cheaper than him, like significantly cheaper. So yeah, Tom Trbojevic. I think if you got him now, you can probably still look. You could still even sell if you wanted, just because he'll drop to like say $1 million. He's still like $1 million, so you can still sell down to like Nico Hynes and free up like 300k. So that's still an option if you are looking to jump off Tom. But it did feel like this week was the week just to kind of save yourself that big cash loss. Or you could stick with him. But Manly overall just don't seem to be clicking that much in attack. So I'm not sure how much faith I've got in investing in too many of their options at the moment. The draw is nice, but I kind of spoke about it in my video that looking at each individual game, the draw just didn't seem as good as it did on paper. Like the Bulldogs put up a fight, very easily could have won this game. It was only won by 1 point by Manly. But like looking ahead, like Canberra can concede points, but they're not necessarily what I'd call an easy team. The Knights are looking better. So, look, could be points, but Knights have looked decent. The Titans, I can see a lot of points there. Don't get me wrong. Then it's the Sharks, and then it's the Rabbitohs, who the Sharks are looking good. The Rabbitohs are Rabbitohs. So, I'm not sure, if that draw is actually as good as it looks on paper for Manly. So, I think if you're holding to Tom, you could, the Roosters draw, I think, looks better on paper. Or even so, the Storm, or just go for Hynes. I think there's options there. So I think you could still make a case to sell someone like Tom. Moz, Hiku just needs a bit more ball, can still get those 50s. Nanai was just demanding the ball, and for good reason. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think Nanai was on fire today, so Hiku probably just suffered a little bit for that, and I'm hoping that he just kind of bounces back next week. Michael, I can see Xavier Coates being a very good Supercoach option. I can see Xavier Coates top try scoring this year. Yeah, I have no doubt that Coates will be up there. But for Supercoach, I haven't really considered him that much myself this year so far. Finn, captained Oluwatu. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that didn't pay off. That's unfortunate. You'd hope that, against the Bulldogs and him playing 80 minutes, you would have thought was a safe 50-60, but played less minutes, and Manly just still not seem to be clicking at the moment. Oh, crazy praying mantis. Don't say that. He's saying, watch Stags kill it over the next month. Just don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, it would be classic Supercoach, wouldn't it? That he just starts killing it as soon as everyone sells him. Not sure I should trade Kickout. Not sure who I could trade Kickout for coming next round. Look, Bailey, I think if you've bought Kickout, you stick with him. Because, you stick with him for at least a few weeks. Because he should still have a low break even, should still make money. And he still has those potential for those high scores, right? You just have to be wary that those low scores can come. I think it would feel a bit reactionary to be taking him out after just 1 week. But yeah, on the Bulldogs side of things, not too much. I mean, the top scorer is Paul Vaughan with 51, so not really much going there. They have a pretty tough run coming up, so I'm not looking to invest in too many of their attacking players. Maybe a Matt Burton at some point because he goal kicks. But yeah, overall, Max King is the main option. Luke Thompson, someone mentioned, got benched, so kind of kills his appeal a little bit, as say Tavita Pangai, only 35 points. So, I mean, the weather did play a part. It was raining quite heavily at some points during this game as well. But yeah, overall, not too much more, I think, to discuss out of that Manly game. So we're on an hour 15 minutes. We've gone through all the games. If you missed the beginning of the stream, I kind of already spoke a bit about my team, a bit more in depth. But my early thoughts are in terms of moves. So I didn't play the trade boost, so I only did the 2 moves this week, which were Crichton out for Yo and Lukey out for Hiku via duels. So what I'm thinking is this week is I probably will use the trade boost. I've got 150k in the bank. So say Hynes goes up to say 730k, 720, 730. Walker drops to maybe 500. So I'm going to have to make up an extra 100k with my moves this week. So I could do Stags down to Taylor May. That should free up about 150k. And then I could do Cobbo via duels to say I haven't actually even thought about it yet that much. Maybe an Alec McDonald from the Storm, if he looks like he's going to keep getting a bench roll. That's another downgrade potentially. So it could be Stags and Cobbo both out. And then that would give me the money to go from Walker to Hynes. And that might be it. The issue is it's either Walker to Hynes or I do those downgrades and then go Miney up to Grant. That's the main thing I'm thinking about. Miney to Grant, or do I go Walker to Hynes? I'd be keen to see what you guys think in the comments and the live chat as well. Is Grant a better buy this week or Hynes? I'm thinking Hynes just because with those 2 back-to-back hundreds now in his rolling average, the price is going to keep going up. Grant's only played the 1 game, so his price isn't going to change as much, so I can kind of feel like I can navigate that a little bit easier. But I feel like Hynes looking more and more like a priority for me. And if we look at the matchups coming up in round 3 for the Sharkies, so I can't see it actually. We'll have round 4. So round 4, the Sharks play the Knights on Friday. So the Knights are looking pretty decent, but I still think that could be a good captain or vice captain option for Hynes. And then in round 5, he plays the Tigers on a Sunday. I can see him being very heavily captained there. So that's kind of why I'm thinking Hynes. I think the price is going to start going up. The next 2 are good, especially round 5. I think he's going to be very heavily captained. Now, the Storm do have the Bulldogs this week, so Grant could do very well there. Round 5, who they play? Canberra. But yeah, I'm thinking just because of those couple of factors, Hynes is probably the way that I'm looking to go. So I think Walker to Hynes is probably going to happen. And then I'll try and make the money taking out someone like Stags and Cobbo. Or maybe say instead of Stags and Cobbo, Stags to May, maybe Marnie down to like a Starling or something like that. That could be a combination of moves, but I have a good feeling that I'm going to be doing 3 moves this week. Chazza, go Walker to Munster and Marnie to a cheap hooker and Stags to Hynes. How would I go Stags to Hynes? I wouldn't be able to do Stags to Hynes. I wouldn't have the duels to do that unless you mean Walker. Yeah, I don't really get what you mean there. I don't know if I can do that. Unless I'm being an idiot right now, I can't see how I'm going to do that. Yeah, a few people in the chat saying Hynes for sure over Grant. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same way. I'm thinking the same as well. Ben, if we can get both Grant and Hynes, should we? Or take the downgrade on Marnie to a cheapie and just get Hynes? Look, if you can get Grant and Hynes, I would just do that. That looks like a sick kind of couple of trade-ins for sure. Now, I say sick as in like awesome. I think I would just go Grant and Hynes, I reckon, if you've got the money to make that work. Sandy, I have 207k. Thinking of getting either Munster/Grant and getting rid of Stags for Fermor. Yeah, Stags for Fermor, I don't mind that. I think it's a pretty good shout. Could be a very easy switch that I do myself. And in terms of Munster or Grant, I think Grant over Munster, just because 5'8", you have other options like Sam Walker. Actually, that's one thing I didn't even think about. After round 6, Sam Walker is going to get dual flexibility because he's been named at the number 6 slot since round 1. So Walker is going to get dual listing, but I don't think that's enough of a reason to keep him. It just means potentially if I want him back, I can get him in at 5'8", say via like an Ilias or a Dylan Brown. Yeah, a few people saying definitely get Hynes. Hooker options are good, so it's all right to go for a Brayley or a Starling. I think that's a good point. Halfback, you've probably got Hynes as a standout with Cleary coming back now as well. Maybe Walker is an option, but he's the standout. Where Hooker, look, I still think Grant is a standout, don't get me wrong. But you're right, there are some other decent options who are doing okay as well. And Mitch is saying Hynes and Grant will go up, so may as well get both. Yeah, Grant and Hynes combo is pretty good. Chazza, can I send you my team for you to analyze in a video? I've got 13-23. Look, congrats on the score. During the season, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do more of those kind of rate my team videos. And look, I know you got a good score this week, like a great score. But I'm not sure if I'll analyze any teams. Like, if you want to send your team for like trade suggestions, that's fine. You can send it in the comments below, or you can DM me on Twitter. Just like, look, send me your team. I'll have a look at it. Because I think something I might want to do later is like at certain stages in the year, like we can look at people's teams and say if they're doing really well. So say after say like 10 rounds, someone's coming second, we can actually look at their team, see what they've done well, and see if there's any learnings out of that. I think that's maybe a time where analyzing someone's team might be more useful, but just at the moment, just for like pure analysis, I think it's hard to do that. But look, if you want like trade suggestions, things like that, happy for you to send me my team. So we're going on for like an hour 20. I'll answer a couple of questions and then I think I'm probably going to end it there, guys, because it's 10:20. I've got to get up early for work tomorrow. Is Cleary worth getting? Eventually, but I think at the start I would try to wait for his price to go down just a little bit. And I think Hynes is looking a great option at halfback that we can slot in there. Moz, thoughts on Stags to Fermor, Marnie to Grant, Russell to May. Mate, lock it in. As they say, Moz, lock it in, Eddie. I like those moves a lot. Cheese is 45k less than Grant. Yes, that's true. But I think Grant will outscore Cheese over the season. I think he'll be a better option than Cheese. Like, Cheese is a good option at second or forward, but I prefer Grant. I think he's just class. Bailey might get a refuse for Hynes. Yeah, I kind of changed my thinking on that. I think I'm probably more okay with actually doing that switch now. Just because of how good Hynes is looking. Alright, I think I'm going to end it there, guys. We went on, as always, I start to ramble, I rant, and I go longer than I anticipate. I wanted to keep it at about an hour, but there's always stuff to talk about. I've actually just got a warning that my laptop's about to die as well. So it's a good cue for me to end it there. I'll go to bed now, get ready for work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that stream as we kind of unpack round 3. More stuff coming as always for round 4 and looking ahead. So definitely give the stream a thumbs up on the way out if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you are new around here as well and you do enjoy the content on the channel. I didn't really say it actually yet on YouTube, but a massive thank you to everyone for the support. Recently we just crossed over like 1,000 subscribers. I even noticed it in the stream earlier that we've got like super chats enabled. Look, I don't do any of this for money. Anyone who's looking to do YouTube, you don't do YouTube really for money at the start. You don't really get anything at all. I've got the super chats there. Look, if people want to send donations, I would it's not expected at all. 100% not expected. I don't expect people to send me donations or anything. But look, if you want to show support for the channel, I would really, of course I'm going to appreciate it. But look, I'm going to answer questions. I'm not going to be asking for money to answer questions. No way. They're enabled there. People can use it to send money for donations if they want to show support to the channel. But that's not mandatory at all. I'll always be here to answer questions for everyone. That's always going to be there. But just wanted to say a massive thank you as well for getting to 1,000 subscribers. It was a really big achievement in the past week or so, and I really do appreciate that as well. But let's end it there. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Congrats to everyone who had their good scores. Thank you, Sandy. Hopefully I crack 1K. Yep, I'll post on Twitter my ranking. I'm expecting not a green arrow. I'm expecting a red arrow from 52K, so it won't be good viewing. Yeah, let's see how we go for round 4 onwards. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night and see you all in the next one.